Savatage. Savatage was an American heavy metal band founded by brothers Jon and Criss Oliva in 1979 at Astro Skate in Tarpon Springs, Florida. The band was first called Avatar, but shortly before the release of their debut album Sirens 1983, they changed their name to Savatage as Avatar was already taken by another band. Savatage is considered a significant member of the American heavy metal movement of the early. Savatage has released 11 studio albums, 2 live albums, 4 compilations, and 3 EP. The band first reached substantial commercial success with its third studio album Fight for the Rock 1986, which peaked at number 158 on the Billboard 200. Its next 4 albums, Hall of the Mountain King 1987, Gutter Ballet 1989, Streets, A Rock Opera 1991, and Edge of Thorns 1993, were also successful but more critically acclaimed than Fight for the Rock. On October 17, 1993, 6 months after the release of Edge of Thorns, guitarist Criss Oliva was killed in a car accident. Following his death, Jon, along with producer Paul O'Neill, decided to continue Savatage in memory of his brother. The band released 4 more studio albums and went through several lineup changes before going on an extended hiatus in 2002. During the years, partly even before the hiatus, members founded various new bands, such as Jon Oliva's Pain, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Circle Roman 2 Circle, and Dr. Butcher. On August 2, 2014, Savatage announced that they were reuniting for the 2015 Wacken Open Air. Despite having discussed the possibility of more shows and new music, the band went on hiatus once again. Although Savatage technically remains inactive, half of the members of the band claimed in interviews throughout 2020 and 2021 that they have been working on new material for a possible follow-up to Poets and Madmen 2001. History. Early days 1979–1986. Criss Oliva and his brother Jon formed their first band together, Avatar, in 1979, from the ashes of their former bands Tower and Alien, respectively. In 1980, the duo met up with Steve "Doc" Wackles and practiced in a small shack behind the Oliva home that was dubbed the Pit by the band. Wackles originally tried out to be part of Jon's band, Alien, but when the first Savatage lineup was taking shape, Jon, who was originally on drum duties, was relieved of them by Wackles. They also gave Steve a nickname that would follow him throughout his career, Dr. Hardware Killdrums, often shortened to just Doc or Doc Killdrums, which referred to Steve's hard-playing style. Criss, Jon, and Steve played Tampa, where they had moved with their family in the late 1970s, in Clearwater area clubs for many years. In 1981, Keith Collins joined them to relieve Jon of bass guitar duties. In late 2006, footage was released onto the internet of an early performance by Avatar at a gig in a Clearwater, Florida parking lot, and was prominent in featuring an early version of the song Holocaust, which would later be released on Savatage's first album, and a cover of Van Halen's Eruption and VH version of You Really Got Me. In 1982, Avatar took part in some heavy metal compilations, most notably the YNF Pirate Tape, a promotion by Tampa rock radio station 95 and for local Florida bands. Shortly after its release, Avatar was forced to change its name due to copyright issues. Combining the words Savage and Avatar, the band decided on Savatage. "We wrote out Avatar on a big piece of poster paper," and Criss said, "Put a big S like kiss in front of Avatar, and it was like Savatar. I was like, that sounds like a really bad dinosaur, but we liked the way it looked." So then, finally, out of nowhere, I don't remember who it was, it might have been Criss' wife or my wife, somebody said, "Take the R out and put a G," and we did, and it was Savatage. I was like, that was cool, not Savatage, but Savatage, like Sava for savage and Tage for mystical or whatever. From that moment on, we were Savatage. Their first album, Sirens, and the following EP, The Dungeons Are Calling, were released on Par Records, an independent label. In 1984, they signed a contract with Atlantic Records and released their second full-length album Power of the Night in May of the following year. Power of the Night, which was produced by Max Norman, who would go on to produce Megadeth's 1992 album Countdown to Extinction, showcased the band's unorthodox approach to metal, which included Jon's liberal use of keyboards on songs like Fountain of Youth and Broadway-style song structures like the kind employed on Warriors. It was well received by critics but fell short of sales expectations. Atlantic budgeted to provide funds to make a video for Hard for Love on the condition that it be retitled Hot for Love for broadcast purposes. The band refused to change the song, and consequently a video was not released. In promotion of Power of the Night, Savatage embarked on the Monsters of the Universe tour with Rogue Male and Illusion, and also played with Motley Crue, Quiet Riot, Exodus, Raven, Overkill, and Armored Saint. In 1986, after the release of their third album, Fight for the Rock, a failed attempt at a commercial approach imposed by the record company, which the band themselves called Fight for the Nightmare, Savatage toured with Metallica, Kiss, and Motorhead. The band were not happy with the record, with pressure from the label to include 2 cover versions. Jon Oliva had been retained to write material for other artists on the Atlantic label, such as John Waite and other pop rockers. Later, the label demanded Savatage record the material themselves. In a choice they would later regret, the band agreed. Not only did it destroy them in the press, it nearly destroyed the band and sent Jon into his early alcohol and drug problems. Jon recently admitted, however, the album did have strong points, including the band's cover of Badfinger's Day After Day. During this time, original bassist Keith Collins left the band and Johnny Lee Middleton joined the band. Since 1987, Johnny has been the only consistent member of Savatage, performing on every album except Handful of Rain. Rise to popularity and death of Criss Oliva 1987–1993. In 1987, Savatage released their first commercially successful album, Hall of the Mountain King, which became the base for the band rising into a more mainstream arena. The band recorded their first music video for the album's title song, which received extensive airplay on MTV Headbangers Ball, and was followed up by a video for the song 24 Hours Ago. A world tour in support of the album in 1987–1988 followed, playing with a variety of bands like Dio, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Testament, Sanctuary, Pandemonium, Nuclear Assault, Heathen Forbidden, and Hellstar. Hall of the Mountain King not only found a new audience for Savatage, but also introduced a new musical style, featuring symphonic elements strongly influenced by their new producer Paul O'Neill, that would shape the band's future recordings. O'Neill contributed most of the lyrics for the rest of their career and gave them a more conceptual edge, starting with their next album, Gutter Ballet. Gutter Ballet, which was released in 1989, has been considered the band's true turning point. This album saw the band adopt a more progressive style, writing longer songs with more complex melodies and differing vocal styles, rather than the more straightforward power metal style that was apparent in earlier works. The change to a more progressive operatic style was also precipitated by Jon after seeing a performance of Phantom of the Opera in Toronto. The songs Gutter Ballet and When the Crowds Are Gone are examples of this influence from that album, as was the next Savatage's release, which even included opera in its title. Many additional songs already written before the decision of this change of style were unused and subsequently published as bonus tracks in the Sirens and the Dungeons Are Calling 2002 reissues. Some of them were also reworked and published by Jon Oliva's Pain. Gutter Ballet proved to be another success for Savatage, with the title track and When the Crowds Are Gone receiving considerable airplay on Headbangers Ball and album-oriented radio stations. The album was once again supported by a grueling tour, which took place in much of 1990, touring North America with Testament and Nuclear Assault and Europe with King Diamond and Candlemass. They also toured the U.S. with Trouble. Chris Caffery, who had been playing with Savatage in the previous tour performing rhythm guitar and keyboards offstage, officially joined the band in 1989. He never played on the Gutter Ballet album, even though he was credited with guitars and keyboards, and was pictured in the album's booklet both to prepare the fans for the lineup they'd see on tour and confirm his permanent member status. Despite this, Caffrey left the band after the Gutter Ballet tour for personal reasons, but kept writing music with Jon Oliva and would later return to Savatage during the second half of the 1990s. In 1991, the band created their first rock opera Streets, featuring the story of a fallen rock star called D.T. Jesus. The record did not sell as well as the band would have liked, however, as it was released around the time that grunge exploded into the mainstream music arena. But a video for Jesus Saves was recorded and again got airplay, drawing a new audience to appreciate the band. Over the years, Streets, a rock opera, has become one of the most appreciated and a landmark album in Savatage's career. Originally, this record was intended to be a double album, but Atlantic Records did not like the idea, so it was trimmed down to 17 songs. The album was then going to have spoken tracks in between all the songs, but that was scrapped also. The final version scrapped the 17th song Larry Elbows and erased all the spoken tracks except for the intro to Jesus Saves. The cover had the story explained in it to make up for the lost spoken tracks. Atlantic somehow over the years managed to lose the master tapes to Streets, so the leftover songs truly are lost. Many of the riffs from these songs showed up on the next album, Edge of Thorns. Another interesting detail about the album is that Jesus Saves was originally written as a mid-tempo song, not the rocker it became on the finished album. In 2013, a narrated version of the album was reissued with the title Streets, a rock opera narrated version. The world tour in support of Streets began in October 1991 in Europe with support from Vicious Rumors. The next several months were spent touring relentlessly in North America, with the likes of Armored Saint and Fate's Warning, followed by their first shows in Japan. After the Streets tour ended in the spring of 1992, Jon Oliva left the band to concentrate on his side projects Dr. Butcher and his Broadway-bound musical Romanov, as well as continuing co-writing Savatage material with his brother Chris and producer Paul O'Neill. However, as of 2013, only one instrumental track from the Romanov project was released under the moniker Trans-Siberian Orchestra on the Dreams of Fireflies EP. After this EP, together with a Broadway version of Streets named Gutter Ballet, including mainly songs from both these albums, even Romanov is planned as a future Trans-Siberian Orchestra album. On June 13, 1992, during the John's farewell show at Rocket Club in Tampa, 28 songs were played to cover all the main highlights of the band. This show was not intended, recorded or filmed for any sort of live album. The new lead vocalist, former Wicked Witch singer Zachary Stevens, was discovered and introduced to the band by Chrissy's best friend and guitar technician Dan Campbell. The band recorded their follow-up to Streets' Edge of Thorns in 1993. Drummer Steve Wackles decided to record the album, but he was not interested in touring, even though he stated he intended to return to the band in the future, and handpicked his replacement as well in drummer Andy James. For the first time, Savatage began to enjoy mainstream recognition, including increased radio play and a world tour which gained international press as the best Savatage has ever sounded live. However, tragedy struck when founder and lead guitarist Criss Oliva was killed by a drunk driver on October 17, 1993. Jon chose to continue the band, although he has since admitted that the band was pretty much over after Chris's death, but only kept going because of his memory and to keep his music alive. After Criss and second era of the band 1994-2000, Hiatus and side projects 2001-2013, Savatage continued to focus on their Trans-Siberian Orchestra project for a while, releasing the Christmas Attic, but the release of Poets and Madmen in 2001 was highlighted by Jon Oliva's return as lead vocalist in studio, replacing Zach Stevens, who left the band citing family reasons, and the departure of Al Pitrelli, who accepted an offer to join. Pitrelli did record solos for some songs prior to his departure. Another very limited U.S. tour followed, supported by Fate's Warning in the early shows, and then Nevermore for the remainder. Around this time, Caffery chose Zach's replacement in the form of the singer Damon Ginny A Diet of Worms, who was once again brought to the band from longtime friend and Circle Roman 2 Circle manager/co-founder Dan Campbell. Damon sang the song Edge of Thorns as his audition song. Damon performed Zach's parts on tour, with Jon having an increased vocal role in proceedings. Jack Frost auditioned for the role of rhythm guitar player and got the gig. He played with the band for a majority of the tour, but was mysteriously asked to leave the band after the tour, although it could be said that Frost's commitments elsewhere drove him from the band. For summer festival appearances in 2002, the band was joined by Annihilator's Jeff Waters. Savatage have remained inactive since that tour, with band members concentrating on other projects such as Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Jon Oliva's Pain. This has not pleased everyone, with Chris Caffery in particular citing his anger at Savatage not recording a new album in almost 5 years as of 2006. Trans-Siberian Orchestra continues with their releases, and Savatage's members are mostly split up between its two touring lineups, but during the European tours in 2011 and 2014 Pitrelli, Caffery, Middleton, and Plate were all featured together on stage. Year by year more Savatage songs were included in the TSO setlists, among them also Gutter Ballet, Believe All That I Bleed, and Chance. Jon Oliva usually doesn't play on stage with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, while Paul O'Neill, in recent years, started to do it very often during some selected songs. Jon Oliva formed his own band, Jon Oliva's Pain, and released their first album in 2004 entitled Tage Mahal. Through the years, Jon Oliva's Pain, also called JOP, published many records, and their live concerts always feature Savatage songs from the albums with Criss Oliva. Additional material, taken by Jon from his brother's unused stuff, was used to write several Jon Oliva's Pain's tracks as described in the album's credits. Lead guitarist Chris Caffery also recorded solo albums, while former frontman Zach Stevens was approached by longtime friend and Savatage stage manager Dan Campbell to co-found a new band, Circle Roman 2 Circle, and theref. After a dispute with the management during the tour, Zach's entire band left and joined Jon Oliva's Pain band. Zach regrouped with new members and released other new records. Since 2011, the band included more and more Savatage songs from the records with Stevens at vocals in their setlists, and in 2012 also the entire The Wake of Magellan album was played. Their 2013 European tour included the complete Edge of Thorns album due to its 20th anniversary, while the 2014 European tour included the complete Handful of Rain album for the same reason. In addition to his work with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, drummer Jeff Plate performed with electric violinist Mark Wood and joined Metal Church. He also reformed Wicked Witch with Zach Stevens, renaming the band Machines of Grace, and releasing a self-titled album in 2010. Never involved with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Steve Wackles formed a new band in 2010 named Reverence with guitarist Pete Rossi, vocalist Todd Michael Hall, formerly of Jack Starr's Burning Star and currently in Riot V, and former Tokyo Blade members, guitarist Brian Holland and bassist Frank Saparti. We all loved Savatage, but we gave Savatage its chance to get to the level where it was supposed to get to, and it never did. For whatever reasons, we had tragedies, everything like that. But to me, Savatage was never Savatage after Criss died. All these other lineups of the band that people heard from Edge of Thorns 1993, Atlantic Records on, to me was more like Trans-Siberian Orchestra actually than Savatage. Criss Oliva 10th Anniversary Memorial Concert. On October 17, 2003, at the Masquerade in historic Ybor City, Tampa, Florida, fans were invited to remember and celebrate the life and contributions of Criss Oliva at a 10th anniversary memorial concert. It featured Circle Roman 2 Circle, Jon Oliva's Pain, and Dr. Butcher as supporting acts, and as headliner, a special one-night-only band composed of Jon Oliva, Johnny Lee Middleton, Steve Doc Wackles, Chris Caffery, and John Zahner, who played only selected songs from the albums with Criss Oliva. Many Criss parts were executed by Jon himself using keyboards. This show was not intended, recorded, or filmed for any sort of live album. Reunion rumors. In an interview to Aardschok, a Dutch magazine, in June 2006, Jon Oliva announced that he wants to record one more Savatage album, with a live CD and DVD to follow it, before ending the band. He did not specify a release date for a new album, however. Chris Caffery then said in an interview in October 2006 that if a new Savatage album was to be recorded, then it's likely that Alex Skolnick would be involved, as well as original drummer Steve Doc Wackles. In a November 2006 interview to Greek website metal.com, Jon Oliva himself shot down all rumors of the return of Savatage, claiming that it never made him any money, but instead it cost him $1 million to keep the band going over the years. Jon also said that his new band, Jon Oliva's Pain, is basically Savatage reincarnated, so it could coexist with the more successful Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He did, however, state that a one-off anniversary tour featuring Skolnick, Wackles, and other past Savatage members is being planned, with Paul O'Neill as a final send-off to the band. Zachary Stevens has made it clear that he will participate in a 25th anniversary festivities with the band. Jon Oliva then said about the band, "Well, it's over, but it's not over, you know what I mean. It's over right now because no one's doing anything. We haven't disbanded or anything. We have plans to do something in the future." Jon also announced that he is doing some video compilation stuff and editing old things for a bonus DVD to go with it. That has a ton of live Criss stuff in concert, a lot of backstage frolicking about, and going to castles in Europe. In 2007, Jon denied any rumors of a Savatage reunion and tour, as the Trans-Siberian Orchestra has become a year-round commitment, adding that Jon Oliva's Pain is as close to Savatage as you can get. Despite Jon's earlier denials, in October 2008 the band launched an official MySpace page, hinting that 2009 would see some activity under the Savatage banner. The lineup listed on official MySpace is Jon Oliva. In December of the same year, a brand new Savatage website was unveiled. However, Jon Oliva has since denied these reunion rumors, saying, "There has been some news floating around about a Savatage website update and other things Sava-related. I just wanted to clarify that this news is strictly limited to the re-release of the entire Savatage catalog, as well as merchandise from prior tours that will be made available soon. But just to be 100% clear, there are no plans in the future for any Savatage recordings or shows." JOP is currently hard at work in pre-production for the fourth release, as well as preparing for the Euro festivals and South American tours in 2009. "I just wanted to get something out there to kind of cap things off because I've moved on." Those reunion rumors, some people have been saying things they probably shouldn't have. There was talk about doing a show to kind of give Savatage a send-off, but the logistics of doing so just made it impossible. The guys have the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I have my JOP stuff. There's a lot of other things keeping us busy. It's pretty aggravating, though, with people always asking about when it's going to happen and pushing to have one. I mean, Savatage hasn't done anything in almost 10 years. It's just a small group of people, but they just won't let it go, and I can't figure out why. You have the Savatage guys in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which was spawned from the Dead Winter Dead and Wake of Magellan era of the band. You have Jon Oliva's Pain doing a lot of the old Savatage material. What more do you want? Don't get me wrong. I love Savatage, and it'll always be dear to my heart because that was my start. Man, I still play the songs. I love playing those songs, but I've got a whole new career now. I'm on my fourth record with JOP for crying out loud. It's like, to the people that keep pushing for a Savatage reunion, just let it go. I've got the rights back for the Sirens and Dungeons albums, so I might do something with those in a few years. But JOP is my focus now, and I'm hoping people will finally catch on that I have a new band laughs. In 2013, in support for Jon's first solo album titled Raise the Curtain, Jon has been giving many interviews, and during at least one, he mentioned the possibility of new Savatage music is something he's considering. While discussing the success of TSO and the decision to cease activities as Savatage with Dr. Metal on 6/30/13, he had this to say about the idea of new Savatage recordings. If Savatage would have released Dead Winter Dead and it sold 2 million records, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Somebody else explained to me how I could release the same song the next year and it sell millions. And then I walk around. So what am I supposed to do? I've got a family to take care of. I've got responsibilities. I gave it as much time as I could to break. Now I have something that's become very successful. It's paid the bills for everybody. It's provided a living for all the guys from Savatage. We are still a family. We are still together. We still love each other. Why would I want to do anything to destroy that? Why would I want to put a monkey wrench in that to rehearse a week and go put a Savatage thing together? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now I'm up for maybe doing some recordings, maybe put together a 4-song or 5-song EP or something, but I can't shut down what provides a living for so many people. The Savatage guys mostly. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think a lot of times Chris Caffery and Johnny and those guys just miss those days, and believe me, I miss them too. I miss them probably more than any of them do. Johnny and Chris have been around for a while, but I was there for 10 years before Johnny and Chris Caffery were around. So if anyone understands it, I do understand, but we just don't have the time to do both. Time to do both. Do both. That's why we had to make that decision. Is it going to be Savatage? Is it going to be TSO? The numbers don't lie. You can fight the numbers. TSO sells out 40,000 tickets a day. I've done whole tours with Savatage in America where we didn't play in front of 40,000 people in 6 weeks, and people still argue with me about it. It drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. I don't get it. I understand, but Savatage was a great band, and I want it to live on its legacy. I don't want to just slap something together real quick and cheapen the name. If I was ever going to do that, it would have to be big, at the level of TSO, the production and everything. I'm not just going to slap it together. That wouldn't be right, and I don't think it's necessary. Maybe we'll do some recording, though, maybe do an EP, and put it out as a special thing. One-off reunion, Death of Paul O'Neill and Second Hiatus 2014-2019. On August 2, 2014, it was announced that Trans-Siberian Orchestra would be performing live on stage at Wacken Open Air 2015, followed immediately by a Savatage reunion gig. It was announced as Savatage's only live show in Europe in 2015, which led to speculation that it would be a one-off reunion show or the band had planned to continue performing in the future. Asked in a December 2014 interview if Savatage would do any more live shows or record new material, guitarist Chris Caffery replied, "I'm gonna put it this way, for 12 years, 13 years, I've been waiting for my band to play again. We're playing again. I don't know what's going to happen after that laughs, but there were people that were putting a fork in it." Though Oliva said he does not know what the future holds for Savatage, he said, "I just wish that everything works out good, and then we'll see what happens down the road. I'll never say no to anything anymore, because every time I do, I Get Rained On. Wacken started with a performance of Savatage on the Black Stage, featuring gutter ballet as first song. After 7 songs, the band left the stage, and on the true metal stage TSO began to play with Petrelli and its non-Sava members. Caffrey, Middleton, and Plate replaced them on several songs, and Stevens had a duet with Andrew Ross in the song The Hourglass. This set was followed up by simultaneous play by both bands, featuring also Savatage and TSO songs, ending up with O'Neill's appearance on guitar in Christmas Eve Sarajevo 12/24 and Requiem the 5th. In October 2015, Zach Stevens confirmed the intentions of starting a new phase for Savatage, adding that from November 1 on there would be meetings to take decisions on the details, possibly a tour or a new album, since Jon Oliva is inspiredly writing new music. When asked in April 2016 about Savatage's future, drummer Jeff Plate, who had recently released an album with Metal Church, stated, "This really is a question for John and Paul. We had a tremendous time last year when we performed at the Wacken Open Air Festival. It truly was great and magical to perform with that band again. I would love to put the day." When asked in August 2017 about a possible reunion with a classic Savatage lineup, with Chris Caffery filling in for the late Criss Oliva on guitar, original drummer Steve "Doc" Weckles mentioned a Savatage tour taking place in 2018. However, he stated, "I really can't imagine them having TWO drummers on stage, so Jeff will be doing the drumming duties on his own, which he does a great job, although I would love to finish what I started with the Olivas so long ago. That would be a great accomplishment, but I do not see it happening." In a September 2018 interview with Bill Louie of he explained, "There's always been that thought. We did get back together for the Wacken show in 2015. Recent events and possible second reunion 2020 present." In November 2020, when commenting on the possibility of a full-time reunion of Savatage, guitarist Al Petrelli revealed that Jon Oliva is always working on new music, constantly sending him new songs and new ideas, and added, "We always talk about doing something. I would like more than ever to get the band back together and back on tour." Petrelli also stated that there has not yet been any discussion of a tour with the agents or promoters, and concluded, "What I do know is that we all talk about it often, particularly now that we have a lot of time to talk. The conversation is still open. I spoke to Chris Caffery, Jeff Plate, Johnny Lee. We all talk about it all the time. It's just a matter of saying." When asked about the possibility of the band carrying on without their late friend and producer Paul O'Neill, he said, "I mean, we've been speaking about it for the last 20 years now, since the last record. It's always able to happen, and something else stops. If you've got Halley's Comet coming around once in a while, and every 100 years you have a pandemic, and once every..." Caffrey also offered an update on the state of Jon Oliva's health, saying, "He's doing much better because a couple of years ago he had a bit of an incident. So he hit a bump in the road with something inside of him. I see the Masked Mountain King every day, and probably the last 4 or 5 years he's looked the best he has to me." In February 2021, in a statement issued by the band, they wrote, "This is just the start of many new exciting things we have in store for you this year." This had led to speculation that there would be Savatage-related activities in 2021. After months of rumors that a reunion and new album from Savatage were planned, vocalist Jon Oliva confirmed in a March 2021 interview with 80s glam metal cast that he, Caffery, and Petrelli had indeed been working on new material together. Since Savatage's Wacken reunion show in 2015, Chris Caffery, me, and Al Petrelli, we. As for a possibility of a full-time reunion, Oliva stated that he would love to do it, adding that it's very possible. "If it's gonna happen, we'll make an official announcement, but we have been working together, just because with the pandemic and all that we're bored." In June 2021, Oliva reiterated that he has enough material for 3 new Savatage albums, and all the band members would all love to work on new material, but added that there is no deal with a record company to do it and there are currently no plans to go into the studio. In a December 2021, Caffery offered an update on new possible music from Savatage to that metal interview. "We've been writing and talking about it now. It's the first time in a long time where I actually have been trading riffs and songs with Jon over the phone, and I have some really cool things. I have this one song that I wrote that he really likes and it's kind of musical style." Savatage and its former variations started out as a heavy metal band, incorporating Jon Oliva's powerful, sometimes screamed vocals accompanied by Criss Oliva's heavy guitar riffs and fast, melodic solos. When bassist Johnny Lee Middleton joined in 1986, the band took a step in the direction of radio-friendly hard rock due to label pressure, but to no success. In 1987, producer Paul O'Neill was brought in and added symphonic elements to the band's sound, making Hall of the Mountain King the band's first progressive metal album. Around this time, vocalist Jon Oliva also started focusing more on keyboards and piano. The band's 1991 effort Streets, a rock opera, was, as its name implies, a rock opera, the first of many to follow. After the departure of lead vocalist Jon Oliva, his replacement Zachary Stevens brought in a very different vocal sound. The band continued on the progressive metal/hard rock path, and when Jon Oliva rejoined the band, albums would often feature a few songs with him on lead vocals. One of the band's trademarks, especially in the band's later years, were the counterpoint and harmony vocals. In Savatage's early years, guitarist Criss Oliva would sometimes provide backing vocals, but this decreased dramatically over the years so he could focus on guitar playing. The band's 1994 album Handful of Rain saw the introduction of counterpoint vocals with the song Chance, and the subsequent albums had some of these incorporated as well. In the studio, Stevens' vocals would be layered on top of each other, but live Jon Oliva, Chris Caffery, Al Pitrelli, and Johnny Lee Middleton would all also perform vocals. Savatage's main influences include Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, AC/DC, Van Halen, Rainbow, UFO, The Beatles, Rush, The Who, Metallica, Pink Floyd, Queen, Motorhead. In popular culture, the song Hall of the Mountain King from the album of the same name was used in the video game Brutal Legend. Gutter Ballet was an unpublished Broadway project Paul O'Neill wrote back in 1979. In 1989, Savatage already used this title for their previous album but decided to focus their next release, Streets, a rock opera, on it. Trans-Siberian Orchestra reprised, in recent years, the idea to release a gutter ballet musical close to O'Neill's original script featuring Savatage's music as well. German power metal band Powerwolf covered Edge of Thorns on their 2015 Blessed and Possessed Deluxe Edition. The song Christmas Eve Sarajevo 12/24 from the album Dead Winter Dead was used in The Office in Season 8, Episode 10 Christmas Wishes. Band members. Current members: Jon Oliva, lead vocals 1978-1992, 2001-2002, 2014 present, keyboards 1981-1992, 1993, 1994, 2002, 2014 present, rhythm guitar 1994, bass 1978-1994, Johnny Lee Middleton bass guitar, backing vocals 1986-2002, 2014 present. Chris Caffery guitar, backing vocals 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990, 1995, 2002, 2014 present. Keyboards 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990. Zachary Stevens lead vocals 1992-2000, 2014 present. Jeff Plate drums 1994-2002, 2014 present. Al Pitrelli guitar, backing vocals 1995-1999, 2002, 2014 present. Timeline. Discography: Sirens 1983, Power of the Night 1985, Fight for the Rock 1986, Hall of the Mountain King 1987, Gutter Ballet 1989, Streets, a Rock Opera 1991, Edge of Thorns 1993, Handful of Rain 1994, Dead Winter Dead 1995, The Wake of Magellan 1997, Poets and Madmen 2001,